Hey, hey, hey! Welcome to my cozy corner of the internet. This is Nephilim VA bringing you the 12th chapter of You Either Die a Villain or See Yourself Become a Hero, written by FantasyFreak_2 on AO3. Villain AUs are my beloved, so we must heed the trigger warnings before we proceed. This fanfiction is for mature audiences with canon-typical violence and a trigger warning for underage drinking, drug use, abuse, suicide, murder, bullying, and discrimination. If that isn't your style, then I recommend Shades of Green, which is written by Maybe It's Friendly on AO3. It can be found on my channel! Canon Divergence is the name of the game, with this tale of Class 1A being a class specifically for rehabilitating villains in the making. With that being said, the chapter summary is as followed. The rest of the class tell their stories of how they ended up in 1A, and Aizawa himself comes to tell them his backstory and motivations. Now I implore you to sit back and relax whilst I read to you. Chapter 12. Confessions 2. Uraraka had managed to get an astonishingly big accumulation of different liquors. Most of them were different wines, but apparently beer, sake, rum, and cabernet also were all used as flavor enhancers in cooking. Izuku had never touched alcohol before, so he tried the low percentage beer, but he didn't really like the taste. Luckily, he found a red wine that suited him well, and he kept a bottle for himself and slowly emptied it over the night. All of his classmates also found some alcohol to drink, even the rule-abiding Ida, except for Tokoyami and Shoji. I didn't mean to offend, Tokoyami had told Uraraka as she tried to get him to drink some rum, but I have problems with the control of my quirk. Dark Shadow can become quite dangerous. To tell the truth, I ended up here because I once lost control over it during a night walk we did in a class trip. Several of my classmates were injured, so I prefer not to drink anything known for lowering inhibitions. Uraraka had shrugged. Suit yourself. More for us. And you, Shoji? Oh, no. Similar problem, I guess. Shoji had used one of his arms to nervously scratch his neck. I have problems minding my strength when I get emotional. I was, I guess, bullied for my appearance by a classmate and one day lost my patience. I just wanted to shove them out of the way. They ended up thrown out of the 3rd floor. Denki had laughed. Well, sounds like they deserved it. Afterwards, Yaoyorozu had gotten some soft drinks out of the fridge, and no one said anything more about it. Izuku had expected the alcohol to loosen up his classmates, especially after all the stress they had been going through and the emotional confession they had just heard. The first to break was Ojiro. I have the feeling, after all of your confessions, you deserve my explanation, why I'm here too. But I fear it's not as dramatic as many of yours. I used to live near a rich neighborhood and was always jealous of all the things they had, so I used my tail to occasionally break into their gardens and steal small things. It was never planned or something, and of course I was caught after a while. Nothing really special. Sato next to him sighed. Mine isn't much better. I used to sell cakes and stuff in the neighborhood, school, or small gatherings. Well, I found out that putting a small amount of drugs in them made me far more popular. Kirishima giggled, apparently already pretty drunk. You drugged your little neighborhood grandma. Hardcore. He was joined by other people giggling far more than what would be warranted for the story if they weren't already on their way to getting drunk. Apparently alcohol was enough to even get the silent coda to talk even if it was barely more than a whisper.
I freed animals from abusive shelters. I had to walk past one of them on my way to school, and I heard them every day, suffering so much, so I broke in, and I did it 5 more times until I was caught.
Savage, Sarah laughed. You're like PETA, but better.
Hey, we are on a roll here, Mina said. Everyone is confessing to their sins. Who's left? I want more of the tea of how you ended up here.
Fine. Shinso stood up from the sofa to unsteadily climb up on the table for a dramatic confession. I, Shinso Hitoshi, brainwashed my school's principal to lock himself and me in his office and play Baby Shark for 2 hours straight. Every time I lost control over him, I just brainwashed him again. I did it because he was a bitch, and to prove I'm an evil mastermind. So they put me in the A class of UA because otherwise I would have never gotten in. That, and it was fun. Denki looked extremely impressed. You planned doing something bad to get into UA? Wow, that alone makes you an evil mastermind. Thank you. Shinso unsteadily climbed off the table to fall into Denki's arms, who stood up to catch him. Oh, thank you, great Pikachu. Do you see me swoon? I will catch you, O damsel in distress. Denki tried to elegantly whirl Shinso around in his arms, but only managed to stumble, and they both fell in a laughing mess on the ground. Well, Karchan said, not looking up from his rum, I know I don't want to ever save me. Hey! Denki shouted under Shinso's arm. I'm a great saver. Do you mean hero? Ida tried to help. Denki pointed at Ida. That. Kirishima giggled. Did you just forget you're at a hero school? No. Denki managed to slowly get up from the ground after Shinso rolled off of him, even though both of them swayed dangerously. I just wanted to say that so I could use that as a transition to finally ask Todoroki there. He pointed in the vague direction where Todoroki was perched on the kitchen counter. Why he is here since he refused to answer last time. Todoroki didn't seem bothered by the question and shrugged. I tried to burn my father alive because he brought my eldest brother to suicide and my mother to insanity until she burned my face with hot water from her tea kettle. A few seconds. There was an awkward silence. Then Denki, who was still swaying from side to side, finally said, Well, way to ruin the mood, dude. He huffed and let himself sink back into the sofa. Again, nobody said anything until Tsuyu piped up with a small voice. I didn't say why I'm here yet. Tsuyu, you don't have to. Yaoyorozu started, but Tsuyu waved her aside. No, I want to tell you. I think I'll feel better after finally telling someone. The truth is, I was arrested for drug trafficking. They found some stuff in my room, but there were tears in her eyes, and she buried her face in her hands. It wasn't me. Please never tell anyone, but it was my younger brother. Our parents are never at home because they have to work, and I try to look out for him and my sister, but he ended up in the wrong crowd. He confessed to me shortly before the police came, and I hid the evidence in my room so they would let him go. If I had just been a better sister, that would have never happened, and now I abandoned my family. Who will look out for my siblings now that I'm not there? Tsuyu started sobbing. Hagakure, who sat next to Tsuyu, put her arm around her. Tsuyu, I'm sure they'll be fine. After your brother saw that bad things happen when you do the wrong things, I'm sure he'll never do it again. Yaoyorozu kneeled in front of Tsuyu. Hey, it's not your responsibility to raise your siblings. But my parents can't, Tsuyu sobbed. They have to work, they have no time. They are adults, Yaoyorozu said in a reasonable voice. They knew what they were doing when they had children, and I'm sure with help of friends and neighbours they will be fine. Don't worry so much. Tsuyu nodded and tried to wipe her tears. You're right. I'm sorry. I just can't help worrying about them. I raised them for years, and now I can't even talk with them without asking the school for permission. But I can't just dwell on it forever. I have to become a hero that they could be proud of. That's the spirit! Uraraka shouted. Tsuyu smiled, a wet smile. Sorry for bringing the mood down. You were just having fun. Actually, Todoroki brought the mood down, Zero said. You just killed it! Ouch! Jiro had hit Zero over the head with one of her earphone jacks. Shut up, you idiot! We just managed to distract her. Drinking games! Mina shouted. Nothing better to distract someone. How about... Never have I ever! It didn't take long for the class to be happily cheering again, especially after they found out that Kachan had in his childhood been a model for his parents. You? Kirishima shouted with his arms thrown around the annoyed-looking Kachan, who, however, didn't try to push him away. But you dress like a reject of a punk band when you don't wear your school uniform. Shut up, shitty hair! Kachan had growled, as if bright red hair shows so much better taste. My turn, Mina shouted. Never have I ever been arrested for doing bodily harm to another. You're making this too easy on yourself, Kirishima shouted before he drank. Where's the fun in that? I guess I'll have to drink to that too, a voice behind Izuku said, and Kirishima nearly spat out his shot when he saw Aizawa standing there. Sensei! Most of the students exclaimed. Fuck, the heroes are here! Scatter! Uraraka shouted, but Aizawa held a hand up. Relax, I'm not here to make trouble. Their teacher took a still unopened bottle of whiskey and a glass and sat himself on an empty chair. I saw you drinking here the entire time and didn't do anything. Why would I do something now? He poured himself a drink and started drinking. Sensei? Ida seemed absolutely stunned by this development. Isn't what we're doing here illegal? Aizawa smiled his creepy smile. Let's see, it has a team-building exercise. Izuku raised an eyebrow. Team building? Yes. Aizawa poured himself another glass. I heard all of your stories of how you ended up here, and as a sign of trust, and to show you I believe in you, I'll tell you my story. You could feel the tension in the room, but nobody dared to speak. Aizawa sighed. I was born to two drug-addicted nobodies, who'd rather shoot themselves up than look after their son. When I was 5, I was put into the system, but my quirk made people uncomfortable. Nobody likes getting their quirk taken by a kid that couldn't control his powers fully, and there were always rumors that I could do it permanently. I couldn't, of course, but what did that matter? I was pushed from foster home to foster home, until I ended up in one that quite clearly only wanted me for the money from the government they got for taking care of me. The father could get rather violent when drunk, and he had a biological daughter that was a spoiled brat. I wasn't there alone, though. There was another girl whose name I forgot. She was quite shy, but was also marked as a problem child, because she was quirkless. One day the biological daughter said that the girl had stolen her homework to explain to her parents why she didn't have it. It was nonsense, but of course her mother believed her and told her father who was at work. Later he came home drunk and angry and started to lay into my foster sister in the middle of the hallway. He started hitting her, and I tried to get his wife or daughter to get them to stop him, but They just went to their rooms as if nothing was happening, and the poor girl on the floor had started to bleed quite badly. So I pushed the foster father down the stairs. Aizawa drank another mouthful of whiskey. He didn't survive it, neither did the girl he was hitting. The mother and daughter lied. They said I was hitting the girl and the father tried to stop me when I threw him down the stairs. The police believed them since I was already marked as a problem child, but they at least reckoned that him falling down the stairs was an accident since the father had carelessly stood directly next to the stairs and I had just blindly pushed him away. And the girl had only died because of a previous head injury I had no idea of, which led to me being trialed for involuntary manslaughter. Aizawa laughed bitterly. Luckily for me, Nezu didn't believe the official story and after talking to me got me into the A class. I thought it would be made up of people like me who got accused wrongly, or maybe at least teenagers who made mistakes, who regretted their actions. It was not. Half of them didn't even seem to believe they did anything wrong. They just had strong quirks and used UA for their advantage to get out of juvenile. There were a few who were innocent or regretted their choices, but they were weak. Not made to be heroes. At the end of the first year, I was the only one left. I got put into Hisashi's class, and it was probably the best thing that could have happened to me. He and our friends were the only thing keeping me going. Izuku saw Aizawa toying with a necklace under his shirt. "Mr. Aizawa, are you and Mr. Yamada in a relationship?" Aizawa paused, but then pulled the necklace with the golden ring up from under his shirt. Married, actually. Several of Izuku's classmates awed at this, but Izuku was too busy trying to analyze the situation. "Why are you telling us this now?" Aizawa sighed and put the necklace back. "Listen, kid. Most A classes are made up of people who are either actually too far gone to become heroes at that point, or too weak to become one, so I'm usually hard on them in the beginning, so they can see what they're getting themselves into. But by now, I actually believe everyone in this class to be fully committed, so I'm telling you the best thing you need to hear now. Life sucks. Life is terribly unfair to many people, and it will not stop being unfair to you just because of how you were born, or you were pressured into. But if you fight and keep on fighting, you will get through it. And what's waiting for you in the end is more than worth it, so don't give up." The entire class answered unanimously, "Yes, Sensei!" Aizawa stood up. "Good. Tomorrow after class you'll be allowed to either send a letter home for furniture and similar things you want, or if you don't have a home anymore, you can come to me and I'll give you a brochure with options. It's about time you make a home out of your dorm. Now I think you should all go to bed soon, since you'll have to be in class in about 7 hours. The class groaned. "No excuses. You wanted a wild night drinking, so you don't get to complain tomorrow. Try to get some sleep. We'll go into the USJ, and I want you all wide awake for your lesson there." "Yes, Sensei!" Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate all the support you've given me. A surprisingly emotional chapter, but I love chapters with emotional range. I hope you all had a good Easter if you observe Easter, and you have a good Easter this weekend coming if that's when you celebrate. This week has been one of many ups and downs, but I am grateful you are all here and support me, so thank you for that. All credits go to the original creator of this fanfiction, FantasyFreak_2 on AO3. I'd highly appreciate it if you gave this video a like and you subscribe to the channel and you hit the notification bell to be notified of when I next upload. There is no pressure to do so though. Thank you for visiting my cozy corner of the internet. Keep growing my sunflowers. Mwah!